Testing. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. I'll just do a testing. Yep.
If you would all please rise and we'll stay the Pledge of Allegiance. And I apologize, we have a full date, full meeting, so we have a lot to go through today. So any lenience you grant is greatly appreciated. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment. Thinking of those that are in need of our thoughts and prayers. And this was shared yesterday. We just went through the season of Thanksgiving. We are now going through the season of Thanksgiving. With that in mind, let's think of those in our community needing special assistance during this special holiday season. So we'll take just a few moments for that, please. Thank you. Please be seated. We have a number of guests today, and I want to share with our guests. Normally, we take the opportunity to recognize you individually and have you introduced. Due again to the time, I feel badly we're not able to do that, but I do want to recognize those that are with us today. We have with us from our District 6000, District Governor Steve Wieneke. So Steve, thank you. And then we also have with us, I'm going to make a special recognition of Deb Schaefer, who's with us as a prospective member. Deb was at a meeting in Florida, saw what impact was occurring there, and decided she would like to reach out to Rotary to see what impact she might make here. So thank you, Deb, for your being with us today. Others with us today include the Sherholtzes, John and Shirley. Forgive me. Susan, today I'm Ken, not Kent. So from Mr. Dieter. Linda McCray, is that right? Linda Merkin, I apologize. Lahifa, see, I need people to Pawan from India. Pawan. And then from Ollie, we have Mr. Tom Carlson, the Logues, Tom and is it Geraldine? And Beth Laferby. Say it again. Larrabee, thank you. I'm a massacre of names and it won't get better. So thank you all for being with us today. It's much appreciated. And with that, I want to introduce our musicians. John and Louie will lead us in our welcome song. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. We also want to welcome a new member who is coming onto the club, Sinanan. So she'll be a new member that has joined us as well. Now let's do the welcome song.
It's great to have so many guests and visitors with us. As you can see, the words to our welcome song, which we sing every meeting, are up on the screen, and it's to the tune of the Notre Dame Victory March. So everyone, let's hear it. Let's hear it. Everybody join in and sing along. Welcome to you from Ames Rotary, Nave to London or Gay Paris, from far off lands or the USA. We're glad that you are here today. Come back again whenever you're near. Join us and then we'll make it clear. Around the world you will always be. Welcome at Rotary. Well done. Thank you.
Well, announcements to share with you. I'm gonna just, because we lose the mic here. Tomorrow, we have a Global Grants Partnership meeting, and you can attend this either live or online. Glenn Ripke would have the online information. The live session will be held at Fox Engineering. That'll be from 10 until noon. We would hope for your participation in that, and I do plan to attend the live session at Fox Engineering. And it's been reminded to me that they're always seeking contributions. So if anybody wants to help with some year-end planning, and please do so. We would greatly appreciate the funds for the foundation and for our water and health and sanitation projects. Let me also share that I'd be remiss if I didn't share a little bit. Today's a great day to know more about Rotary. You're seeing what it is, and if membership or more information might be of interest to you, we do have information on the back table, or visit with someone else that is a Rotarian around your table, and we would appreciate that opportunity. Some announcement regarding this location. Today is the last meeting we will be holding at the Alumni Center. We are still seeking some alternatives. We've looked at a couple of places, and we have 2 more tours scheduled in the next week or so. So this will be the last live session in this particular facility. And this is also the last live session of the year. We will have 2 online, and then we're going to do a social event mid-December. So I wanted to share that with you. However, we will be gathering again January 16th live for Martin Luther King Day. And we will also be holding an evening session at 5:30 on January 12th. So if an evening session might work better for you, please let us know, and we would welcome your participation for that. More news on that can be shared later as we have things going on. With that, it is my privilege to welcome our foundation chair, John Dahlhoff. Thank you, John.
Everyone. What an exciting day for our club. Try this. About that. You hear that okay? All right, good. Today, we recognize 15 heroes who have made and are making significant contributions to our community. And we're pleased to have 12 of them with us in person today. Think back. 2.5 years ago, a COVID pandemic gripped our community. Businesses were curtailed and in some cases canceled. There was an unprecedented challenge to public health, supply shortages, and a dramatic loss of human lives. While these events led to innovation as businesses and schools adapted, it also contributed to a mental health crisis and loss of learning. Then, amid the pandemic, on August 10th, 2020, Story County experienced a derecho. The high winds left a trail of destruction, including thousands of residents without electrical power. In the face of this uncertainty and adversity, heroes arose within our community. They unselfishly gave their time and their talent to serve others. We also celebrate heroes that serve our community every day, not just during a time of a crisis. So this afternoon, it's my distinct honor on behalf of the Rotary Club of Ames to recognize these heroes of the community with a Paul Harris Fellow. Now, particularly for our guests, you're probably wondering, who is this Paul Harris? Paul Harris founded Rotary in 1905. Paul was an attorney in Chicago who incidentally got his law degree from the University of Iowa. From that initial club in Chicago, Rotary has grown to over 46,000 clubs and 1.4 million members. Rotary's mission, as shown on the slide, is to provide service to others, promote integrity, and advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through fellowship of business, professional, and community leaders. Our club, the Rotary Club of Ames, was founded in 1921. We're in our second century of service. Paul Harris Fellow recognitions were created in memory of our founder. Rotaries earn Paul Harris Fellow points by contributing to the Rotary Foundation, which supports humanitarian projects around the world. That is what we do as Rotarians. Rotarians can then use their points to convey a Paul Harris Fellow recognition onto others who demonstrate Rotary's motto of service above self. Service above self. What does it mean to you? It can mean different things to different people. For some, it's serving others and not expecting anything in return. As you can see on the slide, it can take different meanings depending on different people. In any case, I think we all agree it's sharing our time and talents with others. A process was used to select our community heroes. A small committee of club members was formed representing healthcare and government services, nonprofits, educators, and community volunteers. The committee recommended heroes who have demonstrated service above self. Their task was not easy. There are many candidates for which to choose. Deb, Jean, Jim, Brian, thank you for assisting in the process. I know there were others that were involved too, but they were the lead on the committees. Club members with significant Paul Harris Fellow points stepped forward and transferred their points to sponsor those nominated. When asked, these members enthusiastically contributed their points. As we recognize our heroes of the community, I would be remiss not to acknowledge that in many, if not all cases, these heroes have strong support systems at home and at work that enables them to unselfishly give their time and talent to serve others. I am pleased to see so many guests with us, spouses, family, friends, co-workers, joining us here today. So let's begin and recognize these heroes who are leaders, communicators, passionate about what they do more than what's expected, and importantly, unselfishly serve others. So honorees, when I state your name and we bring your name up on the slide, we would ask that you come forward to the front. And I'd also ask that the sponsoring member, if you're here today, that you would also come up and be part of the Paul Harris Fellow presentation. Our first 5 heroes will come from the government services area. Keith Morgan and Melissa Spencer. This is a team recognition. Keith now resides in Texas and is unable to join us in person, but I believe he is on with us virtually today. Melissa, could you please come forward to the front to be recognized? In the early years of the COVID pandemic, Keith served as Emergency Management Coordinator and Melissa as Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator. They worked as a team to guide and assist communities in Story County in their response to the pandemic. They held weekly communication calls with mayors, county supervisors, Iowa State University administrators, and the Chamber of Commerce. They coordinated the public health responses with Story County Public Health, Story County hospitals, and clinics. And to fill a critical need, they arranged for distribution of personal protection equipment and surplus food. And if that wasn't enough, when the derecho hit Story County amid the pandemic, they assisted communities in dealing with the aftermath. Keith has since retired, and Melissa has been promoted to the coordinator position. Don Goring sponsored both Keith and Melissa. Keith and Melissa were the glue that helped hold together everything during the height of the crisis. Please join me in recognizing them both with Paul Harris Fellows for serving our community so well. Our next hero is Rich Higgins. Rich, could you please come forward? Serves as the City of Ames Fire Chief. He heads a department of over 70 employees that deliver fire response, emergency medical service, and building inspection services for the Ames community. He is also a member of the city's executive leadership team. During the COVID pandemic, Chief Higgins was the city's lead in coordinating communication and service efforts between the City of Ames and community partners such as Story County Public Health, Mary Greeley Medical Center, McFarland Clinic, Iowa State University, Story County Emergency Management, Ames Community School District, and area assisted living facilities. He also led a weekly team communication meeting with members of the city's executive leadership team. The level of coordination and communication was key in keeping everyone informed. Importantly, Chief Higgins created an environment to quickly address issues that continually surfaced during the first 18 months of the pandemic. In August 2020, Chief Higgins' leadership shifted to another direction as Ames and Story County experienced a derecho. Chief Higgins immediately convened the city's Emergency Operations Center and collaboratively worked with city departments as well as with the Story County Emergency Management and Iowa State University. Over the next 2 weeks, Chief Higgins led the Emergency Operations Center as work was performed around the clock to restore power to Ames residents and businesses as quickly as possible. When not actively responding to a disaster, Chief Higgins worked with various jurisdictions in developing and implementing disaster preparedness training. His foresight and leadership are true assets to our community. It is my pleasure to sponsor Rich. Today, the Rotary Club of Ames presents a Paul Harris Fellow to Chief Higgins for stepping up when the community most needed it. Please join me in recognizing Chief Higgins. Next honoree is Nancy Franz. She retired from Iowa State University Extension and serves the Ames and Story County community in a variety of ways. Since 2015, she serves on the Story County Conservation Board and has held roles of chair and vice chair and currently serving as secretary. Nancy has a passion for conservation and is very involved in volunteering on trail initiatives, strategic planning, and more. She is an appointed member of the City of Ames Climate Action Plan Supplemental Input Committee. In this role, she represents the non-city government sector and through her network of contacts, advances the city goals to develop a climate action plan. Nancy also volunteers at the Ames Public Library, consults with community groups and nonprofits on developing strategic plans, community health assessments, and vision mission statements. Clearly, Nancy generously gives her time and talent to improving our community. Stu Melvin served as her Paul Harris Fellow sponsor. Please join me in recognizing Nancy with a Paul Harris Fellow. Our next honoree is Susan Guazza. Susan is the Ames Public Relations Director. In this role, she serves as Public Information Officer and is responsible for internal and external city communications, media production division, to name a few of her responsibilities. Think back to the pandemic when there was so much unknown and misinformation about the virus. Now imagine Susan's role during this time. Much of what the public sees regarding city communications are press releases, video, radio, website, and social media postings. A lot of time goes into producing these communications, requiring Susan to be available beyond her regular workday. When the unexpected occurs, whether it's a water main break or a pandemic, timeliness of getting the information out is of critical importance. During the pandemic, Susan saw the importance of offering regular communications. She organized weekly interviews with community leaders to discuss issues affecting the community and worked collaboratively with Iowa State University, Mary Grady Medical Center, Ames Chamber of Commerce, and Story County on information campaigns that shared COVID statistics and resources. Susan also promotes city services and programs, as well as engagement opportunities for citizens to participate in local government. She does this by serving as a member of the city's Climate Action Plan project team, presenting results of the city's annual resident satisfaction survey, scheduling ribbon cuttings for city projects, and creating the monthly City Side pamphlet that accompanies utility bills. Member sponsor is Tom Hertz. Susan, thank you for all you did and still do. Next recipient is Julie Sexton. Julie is a member of the Ames Police Department, serving as its mental health advocate. Her role is unique in law enforcement, yet extremely important to the citizens of our community who are impacted by mental health issues. Julie helps individuals and families experiencing a mental health crisis connect with services and assist in navigating a complicated mental health system to access what they need. She is also a certified mental health first aid trainer. Julie provides training and education on signs and symptoms of mental illness, how to respond to someone in a crisis, and get them help. During the pandemic, Julie saw a need to continue offering the training and did so over Zoom. She was able to return to in-person training in the summer of 2021 to support the Ames City Council's Mental Health, Wellness, Recovery, and Resiliency Initiative. Julie helped train over 100 individuals and continues training sessions for Mary Greedy Medical Center, Iowa State University, and other groups. Julie recently completed Train the Trainer on applied suicide intervention skills training and is involved in the city series of community conversations about various mental health topics. And that's not all. Julie also worked with police officers and local mental health agencies in serving individuals and families experiencing a mental health crisis. Her role is a win-win. She gets involved when a person is needing help the most, and her involvement allows officers to address other law enforcement calls. Member sponsor is Tom Hertz. Julie, thank you for your passion to help those suffering from mental illness, particularly during the pandemic when so many of our citizens were socially isolated. Geraldine Log is our next recipient. Geraldine is the Director of OLLI and ISU retirees at Iowa State University. In March 2020, OLLI faced a crisis. The COVID pandemic caused all face-to-face classes, meetings, and trips to be changed or canceled. At the time, the OLLI program at ISU had over 800 members and over 40 classes scheduled for the spring 2020 term. Geraldine contacted all members, instructors, sponsoring partners about the elimination of in-person contacts and the need to use a new format to deliver classes and meetings. Some instructors chose not to teach. Some instructors and OLLI members needed to learn Zoom, the new delivery system. And so remember, we're talking about a population that's age 50 or older, many not knowing anything about Zoom or having done online learning. And then some chose to wait and not continue with OLLI. Geraldine and her dedicated volunteers, and most notably her husband, Tom, who's in attendance here, chose to find a way to adapt the changes necessary to deliver online education and assist members to use Zoom. Hundreds of hours were spent delivering the best education experience possible. The membership for 2020 and 21 dropped by 1/2, while classes were offered fall, winter, and spring remotely. New equipment was purchased. More members became familiar with Zoom, and an increased emphasis was placed on marketing and outreach. The result? In the spring term of 2022, so just earlier this year, 47 courses were offered in person, by Zoom, and hybrid. Members began joining from a larger geographic area, representing 71 different towns and cities, 34 different Iowa counties, 23 different states other than Iowa, including a member from Canada. Membership continues to grow and currently surpasses 650. Geraldine's leadership and dedication to OLLI, together with over 100 volunteers and instructors, has proved to be successful in implementing a new OLLI at ISU. With more changes being developed, Geraldine and her new assistant Heather are facilitating increased membership and expanding the course offerings. Jim Patton is Geraldine's sponsor. Geraldine, the Rotary Club of Ames bestows a Paul Harris Fellow to you. You provided great service to those over 50 who were socially isolated during the pandemic. Through your dedication, OLLI at ISU has not only survived the pandemic, but emerged from it stronger. We have a special request. Could all the OLLI members please stand up? Yeah. Our next honoree is also an educator, Jennifer Brecky. Jen, will you please come forward? Jen is the daughter of two club members, John and Susie Sherholtz. Every school morning, you can find Jen welcoming Fellows elementary students with music and a bright smile. Jen illuminates every room she is in. Her sunny disposition and friendly demeanor creates a welcoming and engaging environment for her students and colleagues. In her position as success teacher at the Ames Community School District, she has the crucial task of teaching students how to read. She's an expert on the science of reading, and although she has instructed hundreds of children, she continues to be passionate and committed to every student. Her knowledge of reading instructions, her methodical approach, and her desire for continuous learning makes her a tremendous asset to the community. Jen exemplifies what a community teacher should be: welcoming, engaging, committed, inspiring, and full of love for their students. Jen's sponsor asked to remain anonymous, but we have asked her parents to join her in the photo today. Jen, please thank you for the inspiration that you provide all of us, and particularly the gift that you give to all your students. Please recognize. We recognize one of our own, John Russell, from the business community and as a community volunteer. Due to a conflict, John was unable to attend today. John Russell has been deeply involved in our community for several years. For example, he led the annual campaign for United Way of Story County in 2009 and served on the board of directors in 2000 to 2003. John has held leadership and board positions in the Ames Economic Development Commission, Ames Chamber, Ames Seed Capital Fund, Ames Education Foundation, Center of Creative Justice, Richmond Center, Frenchman Art, YSS Foundation, Ames Public Library Building Campaign Committee, Ames Convention and Visitors Bureau, ISU Alumni Association, City of Ames Electric Utility Advisory Board, Mary Greedy Medical Center Foundation, and the Iowa Sports Foundation. Do I need to go on? John has been with Bankers Trust since September 2007, and as market president for Ames, he has been responsible for Bankers Trust expansion into the Ames community. He has done all this and more with a giving spirit and gracious smile. John's sponsor asked to remain anonymous. John exemplifies what it means to be a Rotarian. We thank him for his incredible service that he has and is giving to our community. Please recognize John. Next recipient is Nancy Carroll, representing nonprofits. She is well known in the community for serving as the Parks Recreation Director for the City of Ames, and now as Executive Director of Heartland Senior Services, which is in the process of changing its name to Heartland of Story County. In both roles, she has gone above the job description and works hard to make the community even better by keeping us active. She was a key player in developing Healthiest Ames, building tennis courts at Ames High School, making the Furman Aquatic Center a reality, and so much more. In her role at Heartland, she worked tirelessly on the Healthy Life Center project. And although it did not pass the bond vote, Nancy never lost sight of how to improve lives for those in our community age 60 and above. Her ability to collaborate with others is now part of 60 Forward, changing the vision of aging. a partnership between the City of Ames, Heartland of Story County, and Mary Greeley Medical Center. As Nancy shared with us in her Rotary presentation a couple weeks ago, Heartland's new facility will soon be under construction and will offer a breadth of programs, activities, and services to support physical activity, social networks, and health and nutrition. Thanks to Nancy's tireless efforts, our community is better for those 60 and over on their journey to age well. Nancy's positive attitude and ability to encourage others to see the vision has helped our community stay healthy. Nancy's sponsor is Dan Devine. Nancy, the Ames community is so fortunate to have a passionate leader such as you. Please recognize Nancy. Presenting healthcare services is Sarah Buckles, our next honoree. Sarah is out of town today and could not attend. Sarah is the occupational health coordinator with Mary Greeley. The COVID pandemic hit Mary Greeley's staff hard, not only in terms of what needed to be done to treat patients, but also in terms of how to manage their own health and safety. Sarah was truly on the front lines when it came to helping staff. She helped staff who tested positive for COVID-19 understand what they needed to do for their own safety and the safety of their coworkers and patients. She played a key role in administering vaccines for staff, including coordinating COVID vaccine and flu shots. She answered countless questions from staff about vaccines, symptoms, exposure risk, and more. It was stressful, exhausting work that Sarah always did with a smile. Her always upbeat attitude contributed to Mary Greeley's staff's ability to weather the worst days of the pandemic. In 2021, her efforts earned Mary Greeley's Innovation and Excellence Award for nursing. Sarah captures the meaning of Rotary's service above self. Sarah serves with her heart and always puts others above her own needs. She is dedicated to her work and is incredibly innovative in her ideas. Mary Greeley's COVID vaccination clinics are a great example of her efforts. She helped coordinate these clinics, helped design the space, and took the lead in the clinics to ensure they operated smoothly. Sarah is sponsored by Sarah Buck, who is participating today virtually. When there is a crisis, such as COVID, it's critical to have people within your organization that others trust and have confidence. Sarah clearly fills that role at Mary Greeley, and it is an honor for us to present her with Paul Harris Fellow recognition. Also in healthcare services, our next honoree is Julie Siebold. Julie is manager of Mary Greeley's intensive care unit. When a Des Moines Register reporter asked to spend extended time at Mary Greeley to cover the impact of COVID-19, Julie was one of the first to enthusiastically welcome the idea. She wanted the story told. She wanted people to understand what she and her staff were going through. She wanted her friends and family to understand why she changed her clothes in the garage when she got home from work. Julie and her team in the ICU were among the first at Mary Greeley to be on the front lines of COVID-19. They dealt with the most seriously ill patients, including many who had to be put on ventilators. They coped with patients' deaths due to COVID. They managed concerned families who often couldn't visit their loved ones until their prognosis turned dire. They saw the worst of COVID, and under Julie's leadership, the ICU staff weathered what is likely to be the worst healthcare crisis in their career. Julie started a practice of playing "Here Comes the Sun" whenever a patient came on a ventilator, a small form of celebration that lifted spirits of patients and staff. A Des Moines Register reporter and photojournalist ultimately spent many hours at ICU, where Julie and her staff gave them as much access as possible. Julie made sure the story was told. The result was an award-winning series in the Register that will serve as an important history of one hospital's COVID experience. Member sponsor is also Sarah Buck. Julie, the Rotary Club of AIM recognizes you with a Paul Harris Fellow. Thank you for getting the story told and your leadership during the pandemic. In healthcare services, our next honoree is Les White. Les is Director of Mary Greeley's Home Health and Hospice Services and Story County Public Health. Les was truly one of the heroes of the pandemic. Public health nurses were in the forefront of the pandemic. It was those nurses across the country that were doing home visits to early suspected coronavirus patients. Across the country, they were some of the first infected while trying to help patients and teach them about this new unknown virus. Les helped lead her team in taking care of our entire county. She and her staff fielded countless questions from the public about COVID-19, the symptoms, the risks, the vaccines, and the misinformation. She and her team were able to respond quickly to changing guidance that came out daily, always looking out for the best interests of the patients, families, and staff. She oversaw distribution of vaccines, coping with the stressful combination of supply, demand, and bureaucracy. She oversaw coordination of public vaccine clinics and vaccine clinics at area schools. This was a high-pressure period, and let's manage it with dedication and focus, setting an example for all Mary Greeley staff as they cope with the personal and professional impact of the pandemic. In 2021, Les received Mary Greeley's Innovation and Excellence Award for leadership. Member sponsor was Don Goring. Les, we thank you for your dedicated service to the community, and it's our honor to recognize you with a Paul Harris Fellow as a hero of the community. So representing Healthcare Service as our next honoree is Rebecca Moore. Rebecca is the Director of Medical Surgery at Mary Greeley. The 6th floor at Mary Greeley's West Tower is typically where patients recovering from surgery are cared for by a dedicated staff of nurses. During COVID-19, the floor was designated as a unit to be used should the number of admitted COVID-19 patients exceed capacity in other areas of the hospital. It was no surprise that eventually Mary Greeley had to activate their plan to use 6th floor for COVID-19 patients. At times, half of the 30 beds on this floor were being used for COVID patients. At other times, the entire floor was dedicated to the pandemic. During this high-stress time, the team on 6th floor was ably guided by Becca. She and her team had to make significant changes on how to care for people on their floor. Extreme safety measures were put in place, requiring immediate training for staff. Staff had to properly don and doff personal protection equipment many times a day. While caring for patients, Becca and her team also had to address concerns of family members who were unable to visit. Becca always has a calm and caring presence, and she had to call on these straits like never before. The level of pressure on her and her team is difficult to describe. They were among those on the front lines of the pandemic. While there were success stories, there was also more COVID-related death than anyone expected to experience. They were caring for incredibly ill patients. while having to worry about their own health and safety and the health and safety of the people they went home to. Becca's dedicated and focused leadership successfully guided her team through one of the worst health crises they could ever imagine. Member sponsor is Brian Dieter. The Rotary Club of Ames is honored to present Rebecca Moore with the Paul Harris Fellow for her service now and especially during the pandemic. Clearly, Becca and her team embody service above self. Our final recipient comes from Healthcare Services, Nick Truenstra. He is the Emergency Medical Service Supervisor for Mary Greeley's Mobile Intensive Care Service. When Nick heard about Cahoots, he started wondering how it could work in Ames. Cahoots is a mobile crisis intervention program. It is one of several such community health programs that offer a more specialized way to respond to 911 calls that don't need an ambulance or police response. Inspired, Nick worked with the Ames Police and Iowa State University to establish ARCH, Alternative Response for Community Health. ARCH staff, including paramedics and social workers, are trained in mental health and crisis stabilization. Working with the Mary Greeley Foundation, he was able to secure grants, including one from Story County Community Foundation, to fund the purchase of a vehicle designated for ARCH. The ARCH team can provide an immediate response to certain 911 calls and help connect individuals with additional resources in the community, thereby avoiding arrests and unnecessary emergency room visits. These situations could involve a mental health crisis or homelessness. Launched in October 2022, so just a little over a month ago, ARCH has already responded to more than 50 calls. In one case, they were able to connect a homeless person with resources that got them in safe and secure housing. Thanks to Nick and his partners, Ames has a new community health program that is already providing its benefits to our most vulnerable citizens. Member sponsor is Brian Dieter. All of us benefit from innovators like Nick. We are pleased to recognize you with a Paul Harris Fellow for your contribution to the community. Fortunate in Ames and Story County to have so many heroes of our community. It would be impossible to honor each and every one of them, but today we've recognized 15 deserving individuals who have demonstrated Rotary's service above self. Their stories are inspiring. Congratulations to all of those honored.
Wow. I want to share that I am humbled that I was able to stand with those receiving the recognition, and thank you for the opportunity to have these individuals before us for the service they give. Each of them was presented a medallion that Mr. Patton shared with me. And on the back of the medallion is the 4-way test. So hopefully it will reinforce what Rotary is about. I also want to share that each recognition represents $1,000 of contribution. That's how much was given in points to be received. Those points have added up over the decades and a century of giving for the Rotary Club of Ames. In over 100 years, we have given in time, talent, and treasure over $3 million in this community and international. And the giving continues. On your tables, you'll see some of our most recent activity We encourage you to look at that, read about it, incorporate it. I want to thank each and every one of you humbly for being here. We are so honored to have each of you with us. With that, let us stand. And, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. One more housekeeping. One more thing. Each of our recipients are to sign a book that we give to a well child checkup on behalf of Raising Readers. This is given to them at their 2-year-old checkup. So each of you that received an award today, please come up and we'll have you sign the back of a book to be given to that child. Now, please stand. You're getting your planks in. The 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?